network isn't about collecting contacts. It's about planting relationships that will grow over time. And the currency of real networking is not greed, but generosity. Again, the giver's gain.
100%. Morning, everyone. Welcome to today's episode. And we're talking networking, all things networking, and building those relationships that last. I'm Bronwyn, and I'm joined by the lovely Letia.
I'm doing networking ninjas.
Ninja.
Nice to be here. Thank you.
Okay, so we're just going to cover a couple of topics, the importance of networking in both personal and professional growth, a couple of strategies that will help you in building and maintaining those strong relationships, and how to be a networking ninja, both online and offline. So let's just jump right in. I think the first thing is to sort of understand, why is networking crucial for success in today's world, and how can effective networking open the doors to new opportunities? So we've all heard the saying, right? Your network is your net worth. And I mean, it's fact, right? 80% of new business comes from existing relationships. So, hear that start again and tell me that networking doesn't matter. Working with Sanjay, I've seen how he, goes about his networking and how he fosters those, business relationships. And that's really, helped us and understand that we need to prioritize our networking. How we do it, there's so many different ways, but yeah, active member in the networking communities, things like BNI, TBCA, we make referrals a big part of our business at VA Central, and follow up, right? So simple, so obvious, so many people don't do it. Networking is not bumping into someone at a coffee shop. Networking is strategic. You've got to research, the meetings that you're going to be having with people that you want to be aligned with. It's all about having a strategy. Yes, chance meetings are valuable, but they happen once in a blue moon, and they very rarely lead to anything. You need to be intentional about your networking. You need to do your research, your calls, your emails, LinkedIn, striking up those conversations with people at events. And it takes work. But the connections and the partnerships that you build as a result are so worth it. And I know, when I went to my first networking events, I was incredible. I mean, it's terrifying, right? You're walking into a room full of people. You don't know anyone from above, so maybe you've met one or two before, and it can be nerve-wracking. But you need to be able to put yourself out there, and that is the only way that you're going to be able to make those connections.
Yes, I actually thought about this earlier just before we jumped on, thinking about like the first time I networked as well. But coming from a hospitality background in general, I'm not afraid to talk. But nobody knows you're nervous except you. And you're probably not the only person in the room that's nervous in their head.
No.
So as long as you just don't show it, and just remember that you're not the only one going through this right now, kind of gives you a bit of peace of mind.
We're all just human at the end of the day as well, yeah?
Exactly. So would love to chat about, what you mentioned earlier about like 80% of your business comes from networking or referrals and stuff like that. And it's literally proof, like it's what we are about right now. Even if I look at myself, 80% of all my new clients are based on clients that I'm already working with and the networking that I did with them. And it's not just about getting to know them from a business point of view. It's getting to know them personally. So networking shouldn't just be based on work. I mean, I've followed some of my clients for a year or two to really get to know them and understand where they are in life. And it's sincere. It's not just for business. It's really wanting
so authentic, authentic rather than transactional, yeah?
Exactly. It has to come from the heart. So when you do the networking, make sure that you do it for the right reasons and not just to see what you can benefit out of it. Really use your passion for helping others.
I think it comes back to that giver's gain philosophy as well. you know, what you give is what you gain. And so how do you go about approaching it? What are some strategies that you approach networking with sincerity?
Well, on an online point of view, which is most of the networking I'm
Oh,
doing now,
we're
because
fully
most of
remote
our clients
companies, so
are obviously abroad. LinkedIn and Facebook are your go-tos, and it's called social media for a reason. You have to
yes.
actually not just post about what you do, but actually interact with others. And the more
Mm.
sociable you are, the more you're going to get noticed. But I really like to get to know the people I work with. I love getting to know, I'm a people person. I love to get to know people and make friends, you know
People
what
buy from people.
exactly. And that's one thing that I feel I will never be able to take over those
No.
emotions, especially in certain industries coming, you know, from where we are working in the property industry, selling your house or moving make part of the top 3 most stressful things a person can go through, that death and divorce. So getting to understand people on a different level and networking with them to understand what they're all going through really changes it up. And it works. It works. And when it comes to offline at events and stuff, introduction, taking that chivalry back and like introducing yourself, shaking somebody's hand, telling them who you are already opens the door for conversation, not just kind of standing there and listening, but interacting and, you know, engaging in whatever the conversation is. And that's what makes the off-sites or the offline, not off-site, sorry,
Mhm.
networking fun is you don't just talk about work. Somebody might talk about their dog that got sick or their kid that had
Yeah,
to
it's all
have
part
to
of it.
school. And yes, again, as soon as you connect with somebody on something that they like, they automatically trust you a little bit more.
Yeah, the common ground.
That's mine. What's yours, B? What was your most memorable?
I think, yeah, it's just important, as you said, the importance of listening, you know, not listening to respond, but intentional listening and building up that relationships. And then, you know, it's all very well going to a networking event, right? And then you make such a great connection with that person. And then you take their business card and you exchange details and all of these wonderful things. And you leave feeling fantastic and you're like, you've made a new friend and all of that, and then you never follow up or you never have another meeting. So again, it just goes back to the following up, and you need to keep on having those touch points, whatever that may look like for you in terms of your strategy in maintaining those connections.
Absolutely. I think one of your best success stories of networking is Annie. And when we did the pitch masters with Annie, we got introduced to quite a lot of people in the industry. And one was actually a partner in insurance and things like that. And it's something I really need. And I was actually chatting to someone else that was doing, and he overheard me, and we chatted about, I think it was how great his hair was or something. And he was like, by the way, I also do insurance. Can I give you a call? Gave him my number. Before I got home, I already heard from him. It was nice to meet you. I look forward to chatting, you know, to you about whatever your needs
Yeah.
are. And he stuck with me. I remember him and not the person I initially approached. So it's about, you know, making somebody remember you as well,
Yes.
creating that impact, definitely impression.
Well, yeah. So, I mean, people are more likely to trust those that they've had a meaningful interaction with. And that's just, you know, that is how it goes. So, okay, let's talk a little bit more about mastering networking in the digital age.
So mastering networking in the digital age is, of course, extremely important. And some of the best practices for me personally in the digital world, again, is making sure that you're extremely consistent
Yeah.
in social media on all platforms. People already regard you as more successful as well if you make sure that all of that's in place. And you can really use it to your advantage, because you can use situations that or meetings that you had with previous clients, mention some of those points and ask, you know, prospective people or followers what their opinion would be. And this is
Yeah.
another way that you network really well, because you can see where there is a need or something that you might not have really discussed as much as other parts of the industry. Great example was, for me, is we were so focused being in our niche in the property letting side of the property industry mostly last
Yeah.
year, and sales kind of took a dip. And then suddenly just one of my clients asked me about sales progression and how much he's currently outsourcing it for. And I used that to my advantage, and I took that back to social media, asking about it, making posts about it. And so many clients reached out to me to specifically discuss that. And I think within the first 3 months of just bringing it up, 3 more sales progressors joined the team. So again, using that networking to your advantage.
Well, it's all about, I think also, I mean, in that instance, what you're saying is you're becoming the authority in your field, right? And you need to show that online. I mean, there's so many people, take our estate agency, for example, that, Sanjay runs. A lot of people come up to us and say, oh, we feel like we know you already, from your videos on socials. And that's how
Yes.
it should be. You should be that
Know, like,
authentic that
trust.
people get to know, like, and trust you. And, so they come to you before you're one person, right? And they're watching you. Believe me, they're watching you. They might not even be interacting, but they're scrolling, they're taking notes. And I think, back to what you were saying about being consistent. I don't think it matters as much if you're on every platform, but certainly the platforms that you are on, whichever ones are going to work best for you, make sure you're definitely consistent on those. And, video is important. Video is going to bring across, your personality, and show people more about who you are, because again, people buy from people, and especially in
Yes.
the industry that we're in. Yeah.
And all people are different. So not all
Yes.
personalities match. So somebody might click better with me than with Nikki or vice versa, because one's more
Mhm.
structured, one likes to have a good laugh most of the time. But it's building those relationships as well. And I mean,
Yes.
the stats show that 70% of professionals think that networking is essential to their career success. So it's
100%.
like-minded people on the same platform doing the same thing, growing their network.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think something that nobody tells you when you start your own business, right? 50% of your time, effort, energy is going to be sales and marketing driven, at least, right? And I think the sooner that you realize this, the better. And you can start maintaining that consistency. And, we're not all experts in this. I mean, we've had to adjust to this digital age, as has everyone. And I think, take myself, for example, the way I've made myself more, proficient, upskill reading, listening to the experts, sorting out those market leaders in your industry, in your community, start sales training. And what will you learn? What have I learned? People really aren't that mysterious. The more you're going to speak to people in the field, the more you're going to start noticing those trends. Pay attention to this. If you can anticipate a potential customer's concerns, you can approach them with that solution-focused message and then follow a process. When a potential customer, when meeting with them, set up a framework, stick to it, tell stories. Stories unite us and they make people want to buy into your business. And telling a story is going to help that customer, picture it. I mean, if it's a house you're selling, they need to picture themselves living there. And, take that responsibility, as I say, to maintain those follow-ups. And, if you know that the person that you're speaking to is going to benefit from what you're offering and they don't buy in, then you're doing something wrong. So you always need to be offering that value. And whether you're talking to a customer or not, always offer that value and make sure the person leaves that interaction in a better position than when they first started. And then you mentioned LinkedIn, right? So I think, it's okay to feel vulnerable. And I think that's what scares a lot of people, especially when it comes to doing video and things. But you can't let that stop you from taking that leap and building that community. Over the last few months now, we've been prioritizing our personal branding, right? Myself, you, the team. And I think some of the things that I've learned is that building that consistent online presence for your business is invaluable. It keeps you top of mind. As we've said a few times already today, the people want to know the people behind the brand. And sharing those personal stories is going to help you grow your reach, it certainly helped my reach grow exponentially since I've changed my frame in terms of what I'm putting out in my content. And I think what you need to also remember is, you know, we always, Sanjay says it so well, done beats perfect, right?
Yeah,
We're all like so focused on trying to be perfect, but the reality is the perfect self-image is a myth. You know, building a business, it isn't all sunshine and roses. People don't want to, you know, and people want to see that. They want to share your mistakes. They want to share your failures. They're all part of your story.
absolutely. Great examples for me personally, just looking at women, Polly Price, Megan 18, like they share more than just work.
Fantastic
They're
industry
raw, they're
leaders.
real. And of course, Lisa Novak, she's like a great example of how done beats perfect really works. Because I mean, I don't know how many of you know her story, but the first time she posted a video, it was very raw, just on a camera, no edits, nothing special, no lighting, and she actually got told that she shouldn't be doing that. And she said, but the thought behind the video is so sincere. She's really trying to help somebody. And it actually worked out so well, just doing what she's doing. And 95% of her appraisals now come from these raw and authentic ways that she's networking and presenting herself on social media. So you don't always have to have the perfect script. You don't have to have the perfect face, the perfect outfit, or the perfect setup. As long as people can relate to you and see that you're also human. I think there was one where, I think it was Fran, where they also had a video where she was taking like so many retakes and somebody either walked in or this went wrong and she made
I mean, share the
video.
bloopers too, right? That's
Love
the
it.
thing of it.
Love it. That's what people want to see. They don't just want to see perfect because they're not perfect. We're all human.
I think what Lisa, back to what you're saying about Lisa, she said something so that stuck with me at our recent conference that we held last month. She says, it's not about you, it's about your clients.
Exactly.
Right? And as you said, you're there to help your clients. It's not about you. So that is what you need to bear in mind when you're doing this. And, you know, I think just get out of your head. Too many people just get stuck in their head about it, right? But okay, so yeah, I mean, going back to what you were saying earlier as well, you know, givers gain, right? I mean, we recently I attended BNI's International Networking Week. We were actually one of the sponsors, and Annie Olafua from Get Storage, she was delivering the keynote address. And the timing of this event couldn't have been better because literally just the week before, I was meeting with one of our clients. I'm sure some of the industry guys, if you're watching this, know Christopher Watkin, right? And we were also just discussing the importance of being more authentic in storytelling and branding. And Annie's presentation just really caught my attention. And I knew that I wanted to learn more and, you know, how she can help us achieve, you know, incorporating this into our marketing and things. And she did well, she calls them story labs. And we walked through, you know, our brand, all our stories and all of this so she could understand, you know, and get a unique perspective on our stories and, you know, what we're all about. And through this, she got to know us, VA Central, so well, including our founding story, what we stand for, and, you know, never mind the fact that she's generated a year's worth of content for us at this point. What's even more amazing is that because of this and meeting with her and networking with her and getting to know each other and building that relationship on such a deep level, she's now become our client. I mean, despite the fact that we were her client first. So again, just full circle givers gain moment for me. And you know, even now she's referring us to clients as far out as Austria and the like. So again, your network is your net worth and you never know who someone else knows. So build those relationships. And this for me is just the best example of the power of givers gain and the power of building strong relationships that can pay off tenfold.
Yeah. What I also loved about Annie is it's when you network, it's also not just about that type of gain. It's about gaining perspective from different
Yes, learn from people.
Yes,
Yes.
and when she sat with us and really like kind of went through each of our personalities, A lot of times you might think that what you are might be overbearing, or being too emotional, being too this or being too that might not be ideal. And networking with some people can also allow you to accept and really get that self-love back, and realize that what you are is worth gold. Being empathetic or being emotional, which is, I'm talking about myself if anyone was wondering, isn't necessarily a bad thing, because it brings out a different passion. And that also allows for networking, because you really care about like people's personal lives and celebrating their successes with them as well. A great example I have is Michael Bailey. I mean, I started looking at his content more than a year ago, and he intrigued me as a person. I loved his content. And then also seeing how well known he was in the industry and how busy he was, I thought he would, really need us. And I think that's another thing with networking and being in the industry, is where in the beginning you think you need them. And as soon as you have that mindset that they need you, it also changes completely. And looking at what he was doing and reaching out to him, knowing how busy he was, and knowing he needed help. It took a very, very long time to get to the point where we could actually just sit down and have a conversation. But when we finally did it, it played in my favor, not just in the sense that I could help him, but he's so well known and his network is so big, especially with the Keller Williams brand. And it's really opened a lot of doors and created more awareness about remote workers. So networking with the right people in that sense also allows for you to grow on a completely different level. You could reach out to someone because you can see they need you, but they don't know you. So they don't trust you yet. And they think, oh, this is strange. It's not something I need. And a friend of mine is a perfect example. Yeah, Anthony. If you're watching this, Anthony, the first time we met, he was like, I don't need this. I don't know you. I don't need you. Then Michael joined. And he's really good mates. And he said, Anthony, this is great. And Anthony actually called me back. And he's like, Letia, Michael now actually spoke to me as well. I would like to chat. And it's been going great. I mean, he's literally got the most amazing person working for him and telling his friends again. So again, having the right network and connecting with the right people opens so many other doors for you and creates more reassurance almost about your brand.
So important.
And it's the same with agents. I mean, before I joined the main team as well, I worked for agents, booking and market appraisals. That's another great example. And if I could call it networking, then I was chatting to their prospects. And one of the ladies I actually spoke with wanted an appraisal done, and the agent that was helping her never actually mentioned that he could do virtual viewings for her as well. And she ended up using somebody else. I then followed up with her and she's like, oh, I didn't know they were doing it. So I'm with a different agent now, but I kept on checking in with her because she was going through a really difficult time, aside from having to sell her home. And we became friends. Well, the people that she ended up going with sold a house but within the first 2 virtual viewers. But about a month ago, her friend needed to sell her home and she called me back. She did not refer her friend to the agent that sold the house for her. She referred her friend to me because of the personal aspect, the care and the passion. And that's
again, you remain top of mind again. Yeah,
exactly, in a completely different level. So yeah, that's my story. I could talk about this for hours because there's actually quite a lot of stories, but
absolutely, yes.
That was one of my favorites. Okay, then just to recap, final takeaway, network isn't about collecting contacts, it's about planting relationships that will grow over time. And the currency of real networking is not greed, but generosity. Again, the giver's game.
Yeah. All right, guys. So if you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to subscribe, leave us a review, and thank you so much for tuning in with us today. And we hope that you've left with some actionable tips that you can go with and implement into your networking game. And next time, we'll be talking about and exploring more about how to up your marketing game. So remember, it's not about who you know, but how well you know them. Keep building those connections, and we'll see you next time.